With this session update, I'm Shannon Lurkey. A handful of Republican senators spoke to the media outside the Capitol about measures to improve school bus safety. Here's that press conference.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Senator Scott Newman. We just completed a school bus safety informational hearing in our Transportation Committee. Behind me are a number of school bus drivers, operators throughout the state of Minnesota. And they have shown us some really compelling video as to the problem that we have with school bus safety, with people driving by a school bus where it's lit up like a Christmas tree and they blow by it. And some of the video, I would urge you to get the video from these people, or get it from our communications department and broadcast it, because it's literally stunning. And one of the things that I heard today is that between 100 and 250,000 violations a year of people going by a school bus with the stop arm out. And I just had no idea of the severity of the problem. 100 to 250,000 violations. So we had folks in that were testifying to that. And we also have a public information bill that we heard, which is Senator Draheim's bill, which I'm going to have him explain to you at this time. Senator Draheim.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate it. Thank you, Senator Rich Draheim. My bill is quite simple but quite important. It brings exposure to school bus safety and creates a little fund of money to help use to promote the problem of people not stopping for school buses. It's pretty straightforward, and we rely on our drivers and our operators here to keep our kids safe, but they need our help, and more importantly, they probably need your help to bring attention to this problem. And after you watch the videos that they shared today, you'll understand what we're talking about, how important it is to get people to pay attention when they're driving around school buses, and how many close calls we have every day. So that's all I have. So school bus safety, we need to promote it, and thank you for your time.
Now we're going to take questions here in just a minute, but before we do, I want to bring up one school bus driver who's going to tell you an experience that he recently had where someone went by the bus that he was driving. So Mr. Prosky, tell him your story.
Jim Perrotti, driver, Strobe Lights School. Perrotti, Perrotti. A year ago on January 16th, I was driving my regular route in the morning, about 7 in the morning, and the car doing about 25-30 miles per hour went through the stop sign. In the process, it went just about hit a girl that was crossing the road, and the girl's brother was still in the driveway, so it went between the two kids, so we could have had two kids dead children that day. It's happening all over the state of Minnesota, not just in Strobe Lights. This morning, had another one go through, didn't stop. That car went through in October. We didn't get all the license plate number at that time, and so the drivers never got a ticket for it. Same car, within about 50 feet of where it went through in October, went through again today, but we did get the license plate number. So it is repeat offenders. Also, the driver was talking on the cell phone when it went through the bus. So, like I said, we got to be careful. It is our friends, neighbors, everyone we know that seems to be going through these stop signs, and we got to stop it, and the sooner the better. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Any number of operators behind me. We've got some senators from the Transportation Committee or myself more than willing to take any questions that you have at this point. But I just want to illustrate, put an exclamation point on the fact that this is really a serious problem in the state of Minnesota. And the fact that we haven't had a child killed it's a miracle when you watch some of these videos. And one of the videos that we saw this morning was just described to you. I would really urge you to get that video and look at it. It'll take your breath away. Any questions that anyone has?
Over this session and next session, are you going to look at other measures such as increasing penalties or having more cameras and equipment?
I have one
Senator,
bill that I'm working on. Part of my frustration is the stop arm that comes out. You know, it goes out this far. And if we really want to stop people, we need to go out into the other lane of traffic and stop people. There's a bunch of ideas floating around. That's one that I have. I think and there's some court cases being settled on that in another state right now. But if we would extend the arm 8 feet into the other lane, or 6 feet, or whatever it is, I think that would help, and I think that would be a game changer where they physically can't drive. So that's one thought that I'm kicking around and have a bill drafted for that. So thank you.
and the short answer to your question is yes and yes, but Senator Osmek does have some thoughts that he'd like to share with you.
One thing that the Senate did last year was we passed a distracted driving penalties bill that would help in this situation. It brought a distracted driving death or bodily injury on par with drunken driving. The Senate passed it with a huge bipartisan support. I think there were only 8 no votes on the Senate floor. The House won't even take this up. We need to get serious about penalties. One of the suggestions I had in committee today was mandatory minimum sentences for when you break these laws, you go through the stop arms, you put children at risk. But the first thing we can do, we already have the bill passed by the Senate, is get the House to take a very reasonable approach to distracted driving and those penalties. We've already passed it with a bipartisan vote. Let's get that done in the House.
I mean, everyone knows this is the law.
Right, they understand it's the law. Most of the distracted driving law or penalties I would be putting in place is cell phone use. That if you're we had Senator Newman's cell phone bill last year that passed through, but this would actually bring, and we heard a testimony today, a lot of what's happening with going through and violating these laws with school buses, people messing with their phones. This would put that if you hurt someone or injured someone or killed someone, you're going to be treated just like a DWI. You're going to prison because dead is dead. We have to have penalties like this to get people's attention to this problem, whether it's cell phone use or just flat out distracted driving. The whole distracted driving problem is a bigger nut that we can crack, but we're trying to at least focus something on getting people's attention on cell phone use and that level of distraction. Let's get the House to move that bill.
Are you proposing it again this year?
It's already passed the Senate floor. I have nothing new to propose. We've passed that sucker. So let's get the House to get it done.
Other thing I would like to mention, I think it was Mr. Hicks from Litchfield, indicated that on some of his buses they've installed strobe lights that are right at eye level. And he says they're really, really bright and impossible to miss. And I honestly have to say, I don't know how you would miss a school bus stop to pick up children with all of these lights that are flashing. There's one on top that is white. You got all these red lights that are flashing. How do you miss that? And in my mind, there's got to be a certain number of people that are going through these stop arm on school buses, and they're doing it on purpose. And they just aren't thinking about the fact that they could very easily kill a child. So just think about those kinds of things. Any other questions?
How do you use that? I mean, it's a fairly small pot of dollars. How do you use it in specific ways that could increase public education?
Well, I think Senator Draheim's bill is a very good way to go in terms of public education, and hopefully we can educate the public as to the danger of what their conduct is without having to go into the more severe penalties. I'm very interested in the public education portion of this issue. Okay? Thank you very much for coming, and please feel free to visit with any of our operators behind me.
Scott, tomorrow is middle school. Yes.
Before we break up, Senator Yazinski wants to talk about school bus
Appreciation Day.
Appreciation Day.
Actually, tomorrow is School Bus Appreciation or Driver Appreciation Day. As we had so much testimony today, you see the emotional background from these drivers, what they do every day, keeping our children safe. So we really should appreciate our bus drivers that keep our kids safe every day of the school year.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.